Welcome to the channel. Today I'll be talking about the Leo Koehler operator smock. This one is in Phantom Leaf Brown, the Wasp Z2 camo, but Leo have been making these for quite a long time. There are versions out in Flecktarn, Plain Olive, and previously they'd also made them in ATAX FG, Tropical Multicam, and Pencott Green Zone, and a few other camo patterns as well. I first came across some of these, or similar ones, back in the early 2000s, in amongst a consignment of German Army parkas. That's the standard type. There were two specialized parkas made, I think, by a company called Survival Vest or Survival Kit Recklinghausen. And these were distinguished by the use of ripstop fabric, by the Cordura elbow patches, bulgy pockets, wide hood. Now, we think this comes at about the time that the German kitting out doctrine had to change. And that was due to the fact that the Germans were involved in the Balkan operation, S4 and K4. And they were finding that the standard issued kit, so that's to say kit that was designed for defending Germany, medium weight fabrics or heavyweight fabrics, really wasn't suitable for the Balkan summer. And so they were actually starting to have to develop kit to suit specific needs, specific temperatures, climates, and really by extension, specific types of operator. So for instance, following on from the experience in the Balkans, the Germans did start issuing their troops with tropical weight uniforms, a much lighter weight trouser, shirt, and a tropical hat with a wide brim. That's mainly to keep the sunshine off the face, something clearly that didn't come up when it came to planning for the defense of Germany itself. So when we talk about a change in the doctrine regarding specific needs, what struck us about the jacket that they developed was that they were thinking very much about a forward reconnaissance operator. So perhaps a special forces type of operator, or perhaps advanced infantry units, that sort of thing. Units that probably would be on foot, very much not wearing body armor, or if then very light body armor, but more importantly able to carry out an expedition over perhaps 3 to 7 days with rucksacks and on foot, perhaps checking out terrain, making maps, and also reporting on any hostile movements. The sorts of features this jacket has in order to aid with that, they include, for example, a very shaped hood. So this is shaped in such a way that it wouldn't really allow for a helmet to be worn underneath it or over it. But it does allow for the face to be sheltered behind a peak, which is wired and can be shaped by the user. The drawstring for the hood is located behind the peak, so that it can be drawn tight around the top of the head without getting in the way of the peak. Also, the back of the hood has got a self-adhesive tab, and that means that if you are observing from a prone position, the hood can be kept from falling over the face and obscuring the vision. Other features, of course, to help maximize the amount of time that can be spent in the field comfortably include bulgy pockets on the chest, so left and right, and also bulgy pockets on the waist. Now, there are 2 in the front, 2 just behind, and 1 really long one in the seat. Also, there is a drawstring on the waist that runs along the outside, which is a little unusual. We think it's so that it can be loosened really quickly, unlike drawstrings which are inserted into the jacket proper. Those take quite a long time to undo, but with this one, the cord actually runs very freely along the outside of the jacket. The adjustment is still on the inside with 2 toggles. And as you can see, the drawstring does run into the jacket at the front. Another distinguishing feature, of course, is this very wide baffle that covers the central zip. and it is mounted with 4 buttons, one just at the base of the neck, one on the chest, one on the waist, and one at the bottom. And it does allow the jacket to be worn with a zip open for extra ventilation. Speaking of ventilation, of course, one of the best features of the jacket is this very, very long underarm zip. It goes practically from the elbow to the waist. And with it open, particularly if you open left and right sides, a good amount of airflow can be made to go over the front and around the back of the body. It means, of course, the jacket does not have to be taken off for a lot of ventilation to be achieved. Sticking with the front, behind the 2 chest pockets, and I think in a bit of a nod to the design that the Brits took on with their Soldier 95 jackets and earlier their Temperate 94 jackets, you've got dump pockets that zip up on left and right chests. And this allows for very quick access area for documents, maps, that sort of thing. Again, very useful for a forward expeditionary force. A further zipper is located just to the right of the central zipper, and it just allows whoever's wearing it to get straight into the inside, so any internal pockets that they need to get to. That's even if the central zip is done up. On the inside of the jacket, there is an extensive lining that is partially windproof as well. And this actually allows for a further 2 internal zip pockets, perhaps for personal ID or documents of a more personal nature that can be held securely on the inside of the jacket. The front and upper shoulder and the skirt of the jacket, including on the rear, are all lined, and also the hood, are all lined with this thin grey lining that helps to keep those areas windproof. The sleeves are also fully featured, of course, with the Cordura patch on the elbow, which can be opened, and padding can be inserted or replaced. Again, something to help with comfort if lying prone and leaning on the elbows. The upper arms also have pockets, so these are a flat pocket on the left arm, probably so as not to interfere with any sort of shooting. And on the right, there's a bulgy pocket, probably for small field dressing or something a little bit larger, in any case. The cuffs open with self-adhesive. Now, I do recall the older survival vest ones didn't actually open up like this. Instead, they were fitted with a woolly cuff. And it's one place I would probably question whether or not a cuff that just opens up like this, like a garrison shirt cuff, is all that useful on a jacket of this design. But perhaps experience has led to a change in design insofar as if you are at a stream or something like that, or perhaps doing some field cooking, perhaps it is useful to be able to roll up the sleeve just a little bit, prevent it from getting wet. One of the things that people do tend to question with a jacket of this complexity is why the upper back is unlined and really essentially made with just the outer shell fabric. And our thinking on this one is probably that if you are an expeditionary force and you are going to be out for 7 days, then you probably will be carrying a 120-litre rucksack. And then at that stage, the less layering you have on your upper back, the better. That's all very well, but if you aren't carrying a big heavy rucksack, it can turn into an area where the slightly less wind protection that you have here is a little bit uncomfortable. That's the one thing I would probably quibble with a little bit with the design. But I do recall that even on the contract version that we had back in the early 2000s, they very deliberately chose not to have a lining or an extra layer of fabric on the upper back. Although they did actually have loops on the back for camouflage material to be added on. Nevertheless, it seems to have been a big part of their thinking that there should be nothing on the upper back, even when they were developing the jacket, primarily because the sorts of people who would be wearing them for military application probably would have to wear a heavy rucksack, and they probably were very keen not to have any additional layers in that area that could build up heat or sweat. Overall, I would say the jacket is an excellent design to keep you going for a whole day or a few days even. And pockets themselves are well designed, reinforced with bar tacks. They actually, on top of having these large 1-inch buttons for ease of opening, they also have a bit of material sewn onto the top so that the top of the pocket actually folds over on itself, and that really does help to prevent loss of contents. I would actually say the addition of a little belt kit on here is probably all you need to get you through much of the day. It's not really a jacket that you can wear with body armor, as it has too many high pressure points. So, for example, these buttons, these zips, these toggles on the waist. The whole idea of being able to have lots of pockets that you can get easy access to would be defeated by wearing body armor over the top. So it's really not that sort of a jacket at all. I would say, from personal experience, this jacket makes all the difference in terms of comfort when it comes to a longer expedition or a long period of observation in the field somewhere. The fact you don't have to take it off in order to ventilate properly is a huge bonus. It means that all the things that you carry on you, which are already well distributed in all these pockets, will always be at hand. You don't need to go fishing in a rucksack for things, or you don't even have to go fishing in a belt kit necessarily, provided you arrange your kit well in the jacket. It's possible to get really warm quickly with a little bit of activity and the zips done up, and it's also possible to ventilate completely and cool down with the zips open. The hood is an absolute delight. The peak really does work. It does keep the sun off the eyes, and the tab at the back has been extremely useful for keeping the hood perfectly in position, and absolutely no complaints there whatsoever. The one thing I would say is that if you have become a little bit hot and sweaty from wearing a rucksack on the back, then you can end up feeling a little bit of a chill as you wait for the back to dry out. That is a slight downside, but I think arguably that would be a downside with wearing a heavy rucksack or a large rucksack and having to do lots of walking in any case, whichever jacket you wear. If you are planning an expedition or planning a longer camping trip, then a jacket like this will make all the difference to you as well. Thank you, and goodbye for now.